This is a serious issue, and Indians themselves are the loudest voices demanding change. But let me ask, is gender-based violence exclusive to India? The United States reports millions of cases of domestic violence every year. European countries have their own deeply troubling statistics. Every society has work to do. Singling out India while ignoring others is not analysis. It is bias. You cannot call a country uncivilized when it is literally the birthplace of civilization itself. Someone on the internet said India is the most uncivilized country in the world, and today, we are going to completely destroy that argument with facts, with history, with receipts. Stay till the end, because by the time I'm done, you'll see the world very differently. Now, I've seen this claim floating around on social media, in comment sections, sometimes even in casual conversations. People say India is dirty, backward, uncivilized. And I want to ask those people one simple question. What is your definition of civilization? Because if civilization means advanced cities, India had them 5,000 years ago. If it means mathematics, India invented zero. If it means philosophy, spirituality, literature, science, India was doing all of that while much of the world was still figuring things out. So before we go further, let's agree on something. You cannot call a country uncivilized when it is literally the birthplace of civilization itself. Let's go back in time, way back. Around 3300 BCE, that's over 5,000 years ago, the Indus Valley civilization was thriving in what is now India and Pakistan. We're talking about planned cities, brick roads, underground drainage systems, standardized weights and measurements. This was not primitive. This was engineering. While people in other parts of the world were living in basic settlements, Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa had public baths, multi-story buildings, and trade networks stretching thousands of miles. Fast forward to ancient India. Mathematicians like Aryabhata calculated the value of pi and the rotation of the earth around the sun in the 5th century. Brahmagupta gave us the concept of zero and negative numbers. Sushruta, an Indian physician, was performing surgical procedures, including rhinoplasty, over 2,500 years ago. That's plastic surgery in ancient India. And let's talk about philosophy, the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita. These texts explored the nature of consciousness, existence, morality, and the universe in ways that are still studied in universities around the world today. Buddhism and Jainism, two of the world's greatest philosophical traditions, both born in India, spreading across Asia, shaping billions of lives. So someone tell me, which part of this sounds uncivilized to you? India today, the poverty, the inequality, the infrastructure challenges. These are not signs of an uncivilized people. These are the scars of colonization. For 200 years, the British Empire systematically looted India. Historians and economists estimate that Britain extracted the equivalent of $45 trillion from India during colonial rule. They took the resources, they broke the industries, they created famines, they divided communities, and then they left in 1947, leaving behind a country that had been deliberately kept poor and dependent. And after all of that, after 200 years of exploitation, India rebuilt itself. It became the world's largest democracy. It developed a space program. It became a global leader in technology and software. It lifted hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. You don't get to drain a country for 200 years, walk away, and then call the people uncivilized for struggling to recover. That's not a fair argument. That's not even an honest one. All right, let me now take on the specific arguments people make, one by one. Yes, and so does every country that was colonized and exploited for centuries. But here's what people don't mention. India has pulled over 400 million people out of extreme poverty in the last 2 decades. That is one of the greatest poverty reduction achievements in human history. Where's that headline? First People has mentioned a lot about the sanitation, which is an infrastructure challenge, not a measure of civilization. Second, India launched one of the largest sanitation drives in history, the Swachh Bharat mission, building over 100 million toilets and transforming public hygiene across the country. Progress is happening. And again, colonial rule deliberately left India's infrastructure weak. Context matters. Caste discrimination is a real social problem that millions of Indians are actively fighting against. But this argument is often made by people from countries that had, and in many ways still have, their own systems of racial hierarchy, class discrimination, and social inequality. Glass houses, anyone? Every single argument against India falls apart when you apply the same standard to other countries. The difference is, India gets judged, others get excused. Now, here's where I'm going to do something most people won't do. I'm going to be honest. India has real modern-day problems, and if we're going to have this conversation properly, we have to face them directly. Because ignoring them doesn't help India, confronting them does. So let's go through what people actually point to today. And let's talk about each one with full honesty. In recent years, there have been disturbing incidents of mob lynching, people being attacked and killed based on religion, caste, or rumors spread on WhatsApp. This is real. This is happening, and it is deeply wrong. But here's the context. These incidents are widely condemned by millions of Indians, by journalists, by activists, and by the courts. India has a free press that covers these stories. It has civil society organizations fighting back. The problem is serious, but so is the response. A country fighting its own demons openly is not an uncivilized country. It is a democracy doing the painful work of self-correction. Harassment of women in public, on streets, in transport, in workplaces, remains a significant issue in India. The 2012 Delhi case shook the entire nation and the world, and it should have. But what followed that tragedy? Millions of Indians took to the streets in protest. Laws were changed. Awareness exploded. The Me Too movement found a powerful voice in India. Women in India are fighting, loudly, bravely, and they are winning ground every single day. That is not the behavior of an uncivilized society. That is the behavior of a society waking up and demanding better. Some people quote that India has a serious misinformation problem. Fake news spreads rapidly on WhatsApp and social media, sometimes leading to real violence. But again, this is not unique to India. The United States had an entire January 6th event fueled by online misinformation. Brazil had similar incidents. Myanmar's crisis was partly driven by Facebook misinformation. This is a global problem of the digital age, and India, with 750 million internet users, is dealing with it at a scale most countries cannot even imagine. Some of the world's most polluted cities are in India, but IESO India is also the world's third largest producer of renewable energy. India committed to net zero by 2070 and is aggressively expanding solar power. The pollution crisis is largely an outcome of rapid industrialization, the same process every developed nation went through, except India is doing it with 1.4 billion people and far fewer resources. The challenge is enormous. The effort is real. Here's what I want you to understand. Acknowledging these problems doesn't prove India is uncivilized. It proves India is honest. Every single issue I just mentioned, India's own people are the ones raising the alarm, fighting in courts, marching in streets, writing articles, making documentaries. The countries that don't talk about their problems, that suppress their media, silence their critics, hide their failures, those are far more concerning. India is messy. India is loud. India is imperfect. But India is awake. And an awake, self-critical democracy of 1.4 billion people correcting itself in real time is the definition of a civilized society. I have told you some of the major issues which most of the countries has, but they excuse, and India never be in that category. Now let me tell you what India looks like today. India has the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. Indian scientists launched Chandrayaan-3 and became the first nation to land on the moon's south pole. India is the world's largest producer of generic medicines, literally keeping people alive across the globe. India's film industry produces more films annually than Hollywood. Indian mathematicians, doctors, engineers, and CEOs are leading some of the world's most powerful companies and institutions. This is not the story of an uncivilized nation. This is the story of an extraordinary civilization, ancient in its roots and unstoppable in its future. So let's come back to where we started. Is India uncivilized? No, absolutely not. Not historically, not culturally, not by any honest measure. That is not weakness. Civilization is not about how a country looks on the surface. It's about what a people have contributed to humanity. And by that measure, India stands among the greatest civilizations this world has ever seen. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. If this video made you think differently, share it. Drop a comment. Let's have this conversation. I'll see you in the next one.